So I've come out to some local woodland this afternoon. We're at Bummenall Wood, and it's a rainy, damp afternoon, so I've purposely come out to see if I can get a bit more atmosphere in some of my midsummer photos. So this is a relatively small piece of woodland, but I think there are some opportunities here and there. It's just searching them out. I can see something just over there in the distance that looks very Ansel Adams-esque. I don't know whether they're silver birch, but they're very straight, upright branches. There's a small collection of them, and the background falls away to quite a dark scene, so that's going to be one that I'll make a beeline for if I can get across there, because it's across this way, across some pretty gnarly bracken and stuff, so I'll have a look. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to carry on around the track, just have a look to see what these weather conditions are doing to the various scenes. So yeah, I'll carry on around a bit and see if there's any opportunities to stop and get some images, and we'll go from there. So this is the Ansel Adams shot, I'm going to call it. Now the composition is going to be a bit tricky, but I think it's going to be from here, because the ideal place would have been here. There's another slightly thinner branch just coming out from the side of this longer one, but then there's some quite high foliage in the front, which I'm probably not going to get rid of that easily. So I think just stepping across to this side just to obscure that that smaller branch is going to be the way to go. I've just been doing the metering. I've decided to have a go at using this this light meter app that I've got on my phone called Light Me, which has a spot meter function. And I've had these apps on my phone for quite a long time, and I've not really made any attempt to try and use it. So I'm going to try and use it now. Now the first thing I did was take an average reading of the general scene, and that was giving me about between 15th and the 30th of a second at ISO 100 and f5.6. And if I tried the spot meter on a shadow area, setting that on zone 3, that was giving me well, it might have been zone 2, I set it on one or the other, but it was giving me a reading of a 60th of a second, which just didn't feel right to me. So I pulled out the Seconic meter that I've got, which doesn't have a spot meter function, but it does have an invercone. So because we've got very flat overcast light here, the lighting conditions are pretty much the same wherever you're standing. So I just put the invercone on and took a reading, and that's given me 1/60th of a second. So I think in that regard, it's probably means the spot metering for the shadow area is probably okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a frame, black and white these are going to be, so I'm going to take a frame on Fomapan 100. I'll do one at the average reading of 1/15th of a second, or perhaps a little bit quicker than that, and then I'll do one at the app's spot metering setting of 1/60th. So I can have a look afterwards after I've dev'd them and see what kind of results I'm getting. That'll give me a good idea as to whether I can sort of rely on the app light meter going forwards if I ever need to get a spot meter reading. Now this dark cloth I use is made out of this Paramo waterproof clothing, so on a day like today it's ideal just throw it over the camera and forget about it until I'm ready to take the photo, and then just pull it off and take the image. Right, I've got those 2 images in the bag. So the metering, the end was plus 2 stops, so it was a quarter of a second for the overall average metering for the scene, and then the one with the spot meter reading was a 15th of a second. That's with an orange filter on the lens, so fairly straightforward. No, let's just turn this round. No camera movements. Just it's just a little bit of we'll say no camera movements. There's just a little bit of front rise on there, but only microscopic amount, and then just a straightforward scene looking at this little collection of trees. Right, so I'm going to disassemble everything and head back onto the main path and carry on around this woodland and see what other compositions I can find. Right, I've just found my next composition, which is a straight image down the footpath that I'm following. It's got a nice S-curve and it leads down into some sort of dark and heavy tree cover. I'll just spin this round so we can have a look. So we've got the footpath here, the track, and there's some nice shapely trees that look quite attractive, and we've got some foliage on the right hand side, and there's a sapling just at the far end that when I view the image in black and white, that does stand out quite a bit with an orange filter emulation. Not much difference between an orange and a yellow, so I'm just going to do this again with the orange filter, this time on the widest lens that I've got, the 90mm, and the only difference between this one is that I will have to probably apply some front tilt to get the front to back sharpness on this. So just a few words on the title of this video. Photographers of a certain age like myself, who were shooting film as the digital age was ushered in, were also part of that demographic who knew a time when there was no internet. This crossover gives a unique perspective about so many things. There are a vast number of photographers who have never known a time before digital cameras have been the norm. All they have seen is the advancements in software and camera technology, but the shooting methodologies remain very much the same for them. When I use a digital camera though, I'm acutely aware of how much easier it is compared to using film. So in today's shoot I had to give consideration to the time needed to set up the camera, I had to focus manually on a dim display, I had to meter manually and then factor in filters and decide on the aperture and shutter speed that I was going to use. I didn't have the luxury of reviewing the images and correcting mistakes in the field. Everything had to be done purposefully and considered carefully. It's mentally taxing. But this was and has been the norm for pretty much the whole history of photography, and it has only really changed significantly in the last 20 years or so. Even late 35mm SLRs had advanced through the lens metering and capable autofocus, but still lacked the ability to review and correct images in the field, and the knowledge of the performance of your film stock was still needed. Medium format cameras typically had neither autofocus or built-in metering, so the process was very much the same as with the larger formats. And let's not forget, first generation digital cameras weren't the immediate replacement to film that they promised to be. This is why I count my blessings when I use a digital camera, because I've had the experience that highlights the contemporary digital camera for what it really is. It's a phenomenal tool that opens up possibilities that just didn't exist before, They make work so much easier for the photographer, taking away so much of the guessing. A photographer who's never shot with film just isn't enlightened to this, in the same way that young people can't ever know what life was like without the internet and the devices that make it so accessible. The takeaway from this? Well, for anyone who has only ever used a digital camera, finding a way to shoot just one roll of film and a basic fully manual SLR will be totally enlightening. If they never shoot another roll of film again, it will still change the way they view modern gear forever. We really don't know how good we've got it. Okay, so I've just taken that wide angle shot, ended up with a exposure of 1 second at f/16. So that has covered all the depth of field bases. It turned out I didn't actually need to use any front standard tilt on this, so I just checked the farthest focus point and the nearest, and they were pretty sharp even at f8 wide open, so I've stopped down to f/16 and taken that image. Now, there was a bit of head scratching with the metering. The light meter app was giving me an exposure of 1/4 of a second at f/16 in the shadows, with the shadows set to zone 3, and my Staconic meter was consistently about the same. Well, it was 1/4 of a second at f/16 with the Invicone over it. So yeah, it seems to be accurate in that regard, but I'm still not convinced, so I'm going to have to do some more testing. So let's have a quick look at the two negatives here. So this is the frame that was exposed using the Light Meter app's scene view. So this is giving pretty much an equivalent exposure to what I would get if I used the Saconic's reflective mode. So we can see it's not bad. It's perhaps a little bit underexposed still. The shadows in the background there are just slightly losing the detail there, but it's not so bad. I'm still able to get a decent scan from it. Now, looking at the negative that was exposed with the spot meter on the Light Meter app, this is just totally underexposed, a good two stops under. So the jury's out on the spot meter mode on this app. It wasn't giving me the results I was expecting today, so I remain unconvinced. Now, maybe with a bit more time and practice, it might be possible to find out exactly what's needed from that app to get accurate results, but to be honest, I don't think I can be bothered. The risk of wasting sheets of film is just too much. So I think I'll stick to a tried and tested approach using a dedicated light meter. Okay, heading back to the car. Get these 3 sheets of film developed, see what they look like. Hopefully they've turned out, and see if I can get this kit dried out. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and leave a comment. And if you want to see more of this sort of content, then it'd be good if you consider subscribing, and if you hit that notification bell, you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. So with that, I'll sign off and hope to see you next time.